This is segment 10, which complements chapter 13 of your book, Persuasive Speaking. As you watch this speech, ask yourself the following questions. Of the four possible goals of persuasive speaking, reinforcement, inoculation, attitude change, or action, which one do you think Rylan is fulfilling? How does Rylan, who is older than most of his fellow students, bridge his dissimilarity from his classmates and build his ethos or source credibility? In what ways does Rylan use pathos or motivational appeals? And how does his use of fear differ from typical fear appeals as discussed in your text? In what ways does Rylan use logos, including reasoning and evidence in his speech? Does he rely mainly on first, second, or third order data in the speech?
Eleanor Roosevelt once quoted an unknown author by saying that you gain strength, courage, and confidence by every experience in which you stop to look fear in the face. You must do the thing that you think you cannot do. Today in the 90s, incoming college freshmen often report becoming anxious before entering college. The transition from high school to college brings about certain fears. Likewise, students who return to college after many years of absence report similar fears. College freshmen find it difficult to identify where the problem of fear lies. And as a reentry student myself, I have experienced the same difficulty and would like to persuade you that it's essential to be aware of the subtle effect that fear has on us while trying to do our best in each class that we take. Today we will look at some reasons why the fear of failure, the fear of the unknown, and self-fulfilling prophecies have paralyzed freshman students from achieving their full potential. And finally discuss 3 solutions that can eliminate the harmful effects that fear can produce. Freshman students develop fears that create doubt. A common college fear is the fear of failure. Some students doubt their ability to succeed at a college level. And these students have often received negative feedback throughout their elementary and high school years. They suffer from low self-esteem and are insecure about their new academic experience. Students in their first year have the potential to do well in school, but usually underachieve. They may be afraid of making mistakes. In the counseling center at Berkeley Writers College, the students are told that making mistakes are important. It is a way of learning about our strengths and what works well for us and what does not work. It's only when we do not learn from our mistakes and refuse to correct them that they become failures. Professor Steinberg quotes this: "People don't reach their full potential because of important challenges in life." It's also easier for students to spend a lot of energy and time dodging the system and their work assigned due to the fear of failure. Now that we understand why the fear of failure has such a crippling effect on students in their first year, let's examine another reason why fear plays a pivotal role in a freshman's lack of success. Instead of high school counselors making students see that they have the potential to achieve, they make predictions, which students make these counselors out like prophets, predicting their very future. Well-meaning counselors sometimes steer students away from attending college. They advise the students to consider the workforce instead. In today's economy, many jobs call for more than just a high school diploma. The students receive a can't-do message, further lowering their self-esteem. And often this leads to a cycle of low grades, low achievements, fulfilling the prophecy of failure. In Robert Steinberg's book, Intelligence Applied, he explains why intelligent people may fail. Steinberg has identified stumbling blocks that get in the way of even the brightest and the sharpest of students and prevent them from becoming academically successful. It scarcely matters what talents people have if they're not motivated to use those talents, he writes. Freshman students often rely on the correctness of their college professors. Students are still immature and rely on others for their external rewards. But a lot of students here at Chico State says that's not the case. Also, Professor Steinborg states, a lack of self-confidence seems to gnaw away at a person's ability to get things done. And this becomes a self-fulfilled prophecy. It's all in your head. Now that we understand how self-fulfilled prophecies also create fear in freshman students, let's take a brief look of how the fear of the unknown can be a deterrent to our success as first-year college students. Any experience that one knows little about can be scary. Holidays and birthdays, for instance, we receive unknown gifts that are new and different. Yet we do not fear those gifts. May it be it all lies in the way one packages things. An attractive package that we are expecting is the one that we look forward to receiving. College officials need to let freshman students know that there is a beauty and a joy in the gift called a college education. Now that we can see how the fear of the unknown can disguise itself as a problem, let's discuss 3 solutions that can be very helpful in battling fears we face on our college campus. I would like to identify some traits that define a successful student. Successful students tend to be risk takers. Just enrolling in college is a risk to some students, yet they do it and take the first steps towards success. Successful students also learn from their mistakes. Remember, it's not a failure if you're willing to correct your mistakes and learn from them. They need to recognize their successes and overcome their failures. The second solution is we must look at college life as a challenge. We can view college life as a roller coaster with its ups and its downs. As long as we believe that life is going to return to the top again for us, we can rise to the challenge and persevere. And lastly, we can envision our future. When we see ourselves as successful people, even when things become blurry, or when losing our focus, we must maintain the ability to fine-tune our lives and become even more goal-directed. We must have faith in ourselves and stay persistent and stay willing to keep trying. When we don't succeed the first time, we can search for other solutions until we have become successful. It is difficult for many students to appreciate their own success. Let me repeat that. It is difficult for many students to appreciate their own success. Successful students have learned to celebrate their victories, but most importantly, they have learned to overcome their college fears. Let's summarize. Today, we have discussed reasons why fear is real among today's freshman students and gave practical solutions to overcoming it. Successful freshman students are confident enough to believe in themselves, and they expect others to appreciate their abilities. Eleanor Roosevelt reminds us, while thinking about overcoming our college fears, you gain strength, you gain courage, and you gain confidence by every experience in which you stop to look fear in the face. You must do the thing that you think you cannot do. You must do the thing that you think you cannot do. Thank you.
Well, now that you've seen Ryland's speech, let's look back at a few of the highlights. First, notice how Ryland explains the thesis of his speech and connects it with the interest of his audience members, while establishing his own credibility to speak on the topic.
College freshmen find it difficult to identify where the problem of fear lies. And as a reentry student myself, I have experienced the same difficulty and would like to persuade you that it's essential to be aware of the subtle effect that fear has on us while trying to do our best in each class that we take.
A second interesting aspect of Ryland's speaking style is his use of gestures. Here are some examples where he visually reinforces his verbal message.
Also, Professor Steinborg states, a lack of self-confidence seems to gnaw away at a person's ability to get things done. And this becomes a self-fulfilled prophecy. It's all in your head. We can view college life as a roller coaster with its ups and its downs. As long as we believe that life is going to return to the top again for us, we can rise to the challenge and persevere.
Finally, notice how Ryland makes an emotional appeal to his audience near the end of his speech. Also notice whether you detect a change in his delivery style as he gets to this point in the speech. Now, doesn't he seem more animated and more motivated in what he's saying? He even repeats a point for emphasis.
It is difficult for many students to appreciate their own success. Let me repeat that. It is difficult for many students to appreciate their own success. Successful students have learned to celebrate their victories, but most importantly, they have learned to overcome their college fears.
While this is a good speech, there are some things Ryland could do to improve it. First, at times, his delivery was stilted as he read from his note cards. More practice and simple familiarity with his speech might have lessened his dependence on his note cards.
Now that we understand,
Second, the cards themselves seemed to get in the way at times. When he held them with both hands, for example, his natural tendency to gesture was restricted. Third, Ryland could have bolstered his speech with more evidence, particularly statistics. For example, what percentage of first-year students drop out or are placed on academic probation? Are there programs in place at some colleges that have led to success in retaining frosh students? What concrete steps can be taken to alleviate the problem? In short, while the speech may have been good for motivating individual students to face their personal fears, it did little to tell us what an institution can do to help students succeed.